Welcome to the Future Report today. We will enter a battle with words. This is not Call of Duty, nor a Hollywood movie, but a real-life showdown between two giants of the world, the Russian Federation and the United States of America. There is a fact that does not need to be verified by Google. Russia is one of the countries that owns the most powerful arsenal on the planet. From tanks, planes, intercontinental missiles, to hot items that just hearing the name is enough to make NATO hold an emergency meeting. Putin may not be good at rapping, but he certainly knows how to make the world drop the beat with a nuclear test launch. Meanwhile, the US, the global military boss, with a defense budget equal to the GDP of several countries combined, is always known as the keeper of world order. But the question is that position still as secure as before, when Russia is increasingly showing its ambition and ability to hit everywhere? Today's video is not only a showdown of guns and bullets, but also a journey to explore the true balance of power between the two superpowers, a deep, but still humorous, analysis of the changing balance of power in the world, and a gentle warning: sometimes, the scariest thing is not the weapon, but the people who have the power to order its use. If you are interested in military, international politics, and even a little current drama, then you are in the right place. Click the subscribe button, sit tight, and join us on a sounding but not too intense analysis journey right now. When talking about Russia, people often think of white winters, vodka stronger than first love, and a president with an expression as cold as the Siberian wind. But beneath the ice in that cold look is a heavy, durable, and dangerous military machine in the world. A Russian bear that does not hibernate, but is always ready to pounce if anyone accidentally speaks ill of its neighbor. Unlike the US, where an F-35 can consume enough budget to feed an entire small state, the Russian army follows the style of delicious, nutritious, and explosive enough. They do not compete with Silicon Valley in technology. They compete with tradition. Russian weapons may not have the appearance of Hollywood movies, but they have the real sound of the battlefield. If the F-22 is a super sports car, then the Su-35 is a Soviet pickup truck. Old, big, smoking, but can crush everything on the road. Russia does not have a network of military bases around the world like the US, but they have something else: toughness, weather skills, and an arsenal so heavy that NATO has to be wary when unloading. The question is not, is Russia strong, but who is brave enough to test that power? Strategic weapons. Old but never old. S-400 Triumph. An air defense system so scary that Turkey bought it, and the US was angry. It shoots far, targets quickly, and makes NATO planes have to go around. Su-57 Felon. 5th generation fighter. It may not be as stealthy as Marvel movies, but it is very real in battle. T-90 and T-14 Armada. Legendary tanks. The T-90 is the A-47 of tanks. Cheap, simple, but no one wants to be hit by it. RS-28 Sarmat Satan II. Giant ballistic missile. Range of more than 18,000 kilometers. Enough to send a nuclear greeting to anyone. Without a stamp. Russia doesn't just fight with bombs and bullets, they fight with psychology. While the US uses technology to avoid war, Russia uses war to force technology. From Crimea to Syria, then Ukraine, Russia clearly shows fighting fast doesn't necessarily mean winning fast, but fighting stubbornly will tire the whole world. Russia is a master of hybrid warfare, where the battlefield no longer has a boundary between reality and fantasy, between real news and fake news, between military uniforms and civilian coats. They don't need to be the most advanced. They need to be the most effective. The US spent 20 years developing the F-35. Russia spent 20 minutes drawing a plan to attack Kyiv on a napkin. The US stealth aircraft requires hundreds of maintenance engineers. The Russian aircraft only needs one engineer, a hammer, and faith in Soviet mechanics. Russian missiles may not fly by Bluetooth, but they make up for it. They explode very realistically. Russia is not a digital power, but it is a master of military survival. Its weapons do not need to be beautiful. They just need to explode at the right time. And in a world full of turmoil, Russia still maintains its position, not because of money, but because of dangerous unpredictability and readiness to act if challenged. If Russia is a heavy-duty grizzly bear with a classic fighting style, then the US is a muscular eagle with the most advanced technology the world has ever known. And yes, Great America is not just a slogan, but a legitimate description of the military power they have maintained for more than 70 years. With more than 800 military bases in more than 70 countries, the US is not only a superpower, but also a neighbor who likes to watch the world. From Asia to the Middle East, from Europe to Africa, wherever there is a problem, the US is seen. Sometimes they help, sometimes they bomb, and sometimes they help and bomb at the same time. But whether you love it or hate it, everyone has to admit, the US is still the strongest, at least in terms of finance, technology, and political memes. 2024 defense budget, over $860 billion, enough to buy all the European football clubs and still have money left over to make movies about itself. Current military strength, about 1.4 million active duty troops, not counting reserves and the National Guard. Defense R&D spending, tens of billions a year, where robots, drones, artificial intelligence, and even Iron Man-style skeletons are no longer the stuff of Marvel movies. High-tech weapons, F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning, the second Sky Ghost with stealth capabilities, multi-layered sensors, and costs that force allied countries to share maintenance costs. USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's most modern aircraft carrier, like a floating city that can fire missiles and serve pizza at the same time. Combat drones Reaper, Predator, perform reconnaissance, assassination, and long-range attacks, precise, and without the pilot having to worry about falling asleep. AGM-183 ARRW hypersonic missile, in testing, so that the US does not lose to Russia and China in the shoot, and you can't avoid a missile speed race. The US military is not only strong because of weapons, they are strong because of alliances. NATO, Quad, AUKUS, RIMPAC. If there is a group with a name that sounds like a Korean boy band, it is likely a military alliance with the US in it. America knows how to play its cards. It doesn't fight alone. It brings allies along, shares the burden, and often plays the role of the main director. Or, as the joke goes, the person who invites everyone to fight together but gives orders from afar. The US spends $800 billion a year to develop advanced weapons and still gets shot down by Afghan civilians with flip-flops. The F-35 can fly unseen, but no Congress can hide its budget. The US may not win every war, but it certainly wins every arms auction. The US still holds the #1 spot, at least in theory, and in the military budget rankings. But the world is no longer as simple as it was during the Cold War. Strength today is not just about having bigger bombs, but knowing how to threaten the right people at the right time, and being smart enough to win without exploding. And America, with all its technological power, alliance strategy, and media, remains the empire that any country must be wary of. It's time to put the world's two heavyweights on the strategic stage. Russia, with its traditional strength, its ability to take a beating, and its fighting style like Khabib's in his youth. America, with its deep pockets, its superior technology, and its ability to literally and figuratively drop bombs. So if Russia and America were to actually go head-to-head, without intermediaries like Ukraine or Syria, who would truly be the global champion? Russia has the largest nuclear arsenal on the planet, 5,889 warheads, estimated in 2024. Many of these warheads are mounted on intercontinental ballistic missiles like the Sarmat, which can fly across continents. Just to remind America, I'm still here. America, about 5,244 nuclear warheads, fewer in number, but more modern and diverse. The ability to launch from land, air, and sea, jokingly called the three-course combo. Eat fast, attack fast, clean up fast. If nuclear war breaks out, the winners will be cockroaches. But if forced to choose, American cockroaches can still wear armor and speak English. Russia, S-400, S-500 systems, anti-aircraft, anti-missile, anti-drone flying in the neighborhood. Although it is known as a Russian brand, many countries have bought it and then stored it away for fear of offending the US. Aegis, THAAD, and Patriot systems. Expensive but worth it. Both protection and deterrence, and export prestige to allies everywhere. Russia focuses on artillery, armor, and the overwhelming style of fighting. Russia still maintains its traditional fighting style, tanks leading, infantry following, and electronic provocations. US prioritizes drones, precision-guided weapons, and cyber warfare. The US does not necessarily need to be on the battlefield. Just turn on your laptop in Florida, and you can knock out enemy radars in the Middle East. Russia can rain down artillery, but the US only needs to press a button to make the enemy lose power, lose Wi-Fi, and lose all hope of survival. Russia has Belarus, North Korea, Syria, like-minded friends with a penchant for poking fun at the West. US has NATO, 7 G20 Quad A UK US, and the whole TikTok world is following the sanctions order. Soft and hard power blend together in a military fight. Russia is the street fighter, tough, and careless of consequences. The US is the MMA fighter, calculating, high-tech, and evasive. Both are powerful, but in two different ways. One is a hammer, the other is a scalpel. The hammer hits randomly, the scalpel hits the right spot. Who wins? The answer probably lies in who controls the red button and who is better at PR on Twitter. The 20th century saw the US and the Soviet Union in a nuclear arms race, like two neighbors comparing tanks, missiles, and the number of military bases. But the 20th century is a completely different story. This is no longer a game of simple guns and bullets, but of AI hypersonic weapons, cyberspace, and even satellites in outer space. If the previous race was who pressed the button first, now it is who hacked the opponent's button first. The US, leading the way in integrating AI into weapons, from drones to combat robots. The Pentagon has invested billions of dollars in the Thinking Robot Soldier project. Sounds like a Marvel movie, but it's real. Russia, not to be outdone, it has also launched a series of combat drones and military robots. Although there was a time when a Russian robot accidentally rolled into the nearest McDonald's due to a navigation error, the future is no longer soldiers shooting each other, but robots playing checkers to determine victory or defeat. America has the Space Force, a military force that kills more, but flies higher. They are not only interested in the ground, but also satellites, space stations, and the moon. Russia once sent dogs into space, now pushes radar, sensors, and anti-satellite weapons there. Moscow has repeatedly declared, whoever dominates space controls the world. Russia, leading in hypersonic missiles, avant-garde, Kinzhal, flying at 10 times the speed of sound, making defense systems almost helpless. America, racing to catch up, investing in Mach 17 missiles, but still in the testing phase. However, America is still better than Russia in the point of hitting less but accurately, not needing to be in large numbers but having to hurt. Russia, famous for sophisticated hacker groups like Fancy Bear, Cozy Bear, cute names, but destructive beyond words. Cyber attacks from Russia are considered the prelude to military campaigns. US NSA, Cyber Command and Technology Alliances, can paralyze enemy infrastructure with just a few lines of code. But sometimes, even Americans have their passwords exposed because they set it to 12,345. Up to this point, the US still holds a global advantage, from technology, allies, finance, to soft power. But the gap is narrowing. Russia may not have a huge budget like the US, but it has advantages in unconventional warfare, political will, and the ability to interfere globally. More importantly, the world is no longer a one versus one race. China, India, even Iran and North Korea, all are getting in on the action, making the game more and more chaotic-like and phone race without rules. The US is still number one, but Russia is not easily left behind. The 20th century arms race is no longer simply about who has the bigger bomb, but who is smarter, who controls the data better, and who controls the media narrative. And if the future war happens, do you know who will win? It could be OpenAI, because both sides rely on AI to calculate before pressing the button.
Mọi vùng biển
And that is the
đến
whole
sát
picture
mọi
of
lục địa
Russia's
trên thế giới.
military power, a power that cannot
Chiếc
be
ống ngắm của họ,
underestimated.
không một xứ sở
Still
nào có
maintaining
thể
its
coi
power
là
from
bất
the
khả
Soviet
xâm phạm.
era to the time of TikTok. Meanwhile, the US, with hundreds of military bases, a defense budget of nearly $1 trillion USD, and an army of righteous hackers, is still sitting on the throne. But, as we have just seen, The future war is no longer about tanks, planes, aircraft carriers. It is a war of data, artificial intelligence, cyberspace, and social media. Today's world requires not only strength, but also the charm of numbers. Whoever tells a better story, who spreads news faster, who manipulates public opinion better, that person can win without firing a shot. So, in your opinion, will the US still maintain its position as the #1 superpower? Or will Russia, with a different bold way of playing, be able to turn the table in the 20th century? Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your analysis, predictions, or clever sarcasm. If you find this video useful, funny, and makes you strain your brain but still laugh a little, don't forget to like this video so YouTube knows you're not a Russian robot. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on salty geopolitical analysis. Every week, share the video so your friends know that you're not just following the war, but also understanding deeply, thinking carefully, and watching comedy at the right time. Thank you for accompanying us until the end. See you in the upcoming videos, where the world of politics and war becomes easier to understand, funnier, and a little less stressful. Hello, and don't forget, while countries are racing against each other, you should race against your own deadline.